Hello, I'm Deirdre McGlashan. I'm here with Mindie Kaplan, who's the VP of Innovation at MediaMint, as well as the founder and creator of the podcast Mailroom. Welcome, Mindie. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Quite frankly, MediaMint and Mailroom couldn't be further apart. Do you know what I mean? And I love it because we're going to talk about the yin and the yang of marketing.
Yeah.
So let's start with MediaMint. The way you describe it is, and I think it's hilarious, you always talk about bringing unsexy back.
Yes.
Tell us what that means to you.
So I feel like in this climate, a lot of the unsexy roles, responsibilities, and needs are going back to basics. And so as much as innovation is now, I also think what I'm seeing from our clients and brands is that real basics are back in again.
Fantastic, and I think you're right. And also, as we're looking at this new advent of new things to be able to do, you kind of need the basics to be in place for everything else to fly, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And the way you work with clients as an outsourced partner, that's an interesting model as well. Tell us a little bit about that and how you work with them, their marketing departments, and with agencies as well to kind of fill in gaps and to help make sure that the foundation is secure.
Sure. So typically I don't come from an ops background, so I didn't understand the value and the necessity as much as what I'm seeing. And so clients use us to augment their teams. So basically, if you look really big picture, you have a lot of senior management, mid-management, and then you have a lot of roles that can easily be outsourced to other teams, which ultimately lead to the bottom line. So if those teams are in international places, sometimes the cost of services are less. So what we're seeing is brands that are scaling up or down are actually seeing the value of resources in partnership and keeping some in-house.
That makes sense, and I think that brands have been using agencies in that way as well. You know, they use us as partners, and oftentimes we fill in for their in-house teams as well. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to one of Assembly's 4 Ps, which is partners. And I think partners in both sides of it, just acting in partnership with everybody is super important.
Right, especially when you're seeing it as an assembly line, because I think early days, at least for me in my career, it was like, you should be good at everything, and if you're not, like, what can you work on and what can you enhance? And now it's almost like zooming out and seeing actually what are you really skilled at and where's your value and where are the things that are bogging you down. So for example, some areas that we work with brands on would be like managed services or data analytics and reporting, things like that, or engineering that a lot of times take away from strategic roles. So yeah, it's basically like a holistic way to look at a business.
And also I think that if you think about how marketing has changed over the last 20 years, I think back when we were younger, we could know never everything, but much more. Mm-hmm. And now it is literally impossible to know everything and to be able to perform every task in the marketing chain.
Right.
Yeah. So let's jump to the mailroom and talk about you as a creator, because on the other side of that kind of operations and button down basics, having everything in place, you've got this new emerging thing of the creator economy. And that is a big theme here at the Possible Conference. So tell us a bit about the mailroom. How did you get started? What drew your inspiration? And yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, so it started off as a nights and weekends thing. And I basically saw a need in the market for content for women that was a little bit less self-help in the dating space. So yeah, as a marketer, I looked and said, wait a second, everything out there is very self-help. Like, if you don't have the guy, here's how to get the guy. And no one was actually talking to these guys and saying, like, why do you do this? Or why do you think this way? And, in a playful way, lightly putting them in the hot seat and getting these answers. So I figured as a consumer, it was necessary. And then also just on a personal level, I thought, well, I could be this spy and I could do my own market research. And I was utilizing a lot of skills that I use day to day or even in my careers past. So yeah, it's been really exciting. And it came from just an idea. And I always say to everyone, so basically it's a podcast and video series and live events where we interview men about dating. And we're now interviewing them all over the world. And so what I tell to everyone is, what starts off as a hobby, a nights and weekends thing, the first step is just, for me, it was just getting a microphone and then coming up with a name. And it was like those baby steps that then morphed into something bigger.
I think that's fascinating because we think about what brands creators are amazing for brands because they allow brands another channel with which to communicate with their audience. But in a way, creators are brands themselves.
Yes.
And so it's just more brands popping up out there. So as you said, kind of getting it started requires a great idea and a microphone. And that's super exciting. I think it's a great space, but I think sometimes it can be a little hard for brands to understand exactly how to interact with it.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating is your background as a marketer allowed you to do that. So
Yes.
what advice would you give to brands that are looking to engage more in the creator space, or to creators who want to engage more with brands?
I think it's just test and try, which might sound cliche, but to me, the idea of what if not doing it was worse than the idea of trying it and it failing. And so I know it's harder the bigger brand you are. I was actually on the other side, so I used to sell branded content for Microsoft. And so as I was doing that, I thought, wait a second, I kind of want to be on the other side too. And so I did think about it for a while, and it wasn't until just a few years ago when I thought, actually the regret of not doing it would haunt me more than trying it. And if it didn't quite go as well as I thought, I'll give you an example. We did a pilot episode, and one good hack I found was I asked a friend, the format is I have 3 different guys on that are different archetypes. So I asked a friend to be on, and he then was pretty well connected, and he asked a friend of his who is on a show called Summer House. So I got him as a guest, and then it was the perfect way to then go out to other celebrities and athletes and guests to say, oh, I had this person. So the first pilot we did was a disaster. In my mind, it was going to go one way, and it just didn't land. And I thought, maybe this isn't it. And then I tried one more time, and it was it. So just the theory of testing and failing, and then redoing it a little differently, and now it is what it is. So I learned a lot in that, and it was more inspiring once I just got started. So my advice to brands or creators is just test and try. For creators, if you're thinking about something, there's all these subcultures. I found my audience was primarily women to start. That was what made sense, getting inside the mind of men for women. And then single men. And then now a lot of men are actually watching and listening because they want to hear what other guys are saying. Yeah. So it's, an audience that I was not planning for, and then that happened. So I think that's just the headline, is just test and try.
And I think that's really key. I just came from a session with Whaler and Coco Moco, and one of she's so amazing. Yeah. And there were the 5 rules of Coco, and one of them was about being niche. The more niche, the more you'll resonate, the more you'll have a more tightly connected audience. And one of the questions from the audience was, well, if you're so niche, how do you extend your audience? And that was exactly what she said. She said the topic could be really niche, but as long as you're so passionate about it, what you're going to find is that passion resonates with other people.
And they find you.
Exactly, and they find you.
But as you'll see from her, or you may have heard from her, that frequency, that's also nothing new, but she is on all the time. Yeah. And it's not even, I think maybe from our day, I'm used to this beautifully manicured thing, and I'm putting it out, and she's a great example of just in the moment, doing it, and it lands.
Across platforms as well.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that brings us to something interesting. So, purpose is such an important thing for our brands. We talk about that a lot here at Assembly. Yeah. And so if we think about that, as you, as a creator, as a owner of a brand, as a steward of a brand, how do you weave in your purpose, and how do you decide what to expose and what not to expose?
That's a great question.
So really,
I have a very heavy filter, pun intended, because I come from a very corporate background. So I do feel the sense of but before I put something out, I go with my gut. If I'm feeling a little anxious, it's all right, I'm going to push myself out of my comfort zone. Okay. But if it feels oh, this is too much, I will trust my gut. Yeah. And as far as purpose goes, Mailroom is anchored in comedy. The comedy of dating and hearing from these guys and asking them, well, you just said that, but then you said that. Which one is it? And it's comedy. But what I found is there's such purpose behind it, because dating is such a fascinating space right now for people that are single, people that are newly single or almost single, contemplating being single. And so the purpose resonates because the essence of dating, when it's not a fun high, can be a lot of loneliness. And so the purpose I find from it is, although it's comedy, it's a really good outlet for people to laugh about something that they're going through or feel like they're not alone. Some women will watch and say, oh my God, I had that kind of date too. Or wait, I dated that kind of guy. I should date this guy. So again, it's light, but I think there's real purpose in it when it can elevate people that are in a situation that they're navigating, like dating.
I think that makes perfect sense because you're right. A lot of it is just bringing people together, making them feel less alone in what you're absolutely right, a really lonely situation. And I love the fact that every time, when you have your three guys, they're always quite different.
Yes.
And so I love that because when you ask a question, you usually end up with different points of view that you have to kind of navigate through. And it's hilarious when you call them on it. The looks on their faces half the time is like they haven't even noticed it.
They notice it after the fact, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as a marketer, though, we can't just do things because they're good ideas. How does measurement fall in? Measurement across your whole career. I mean, you previous to MediaMint, you had a company, Rated VR, and they purchased that, and that's how you became the VP of Innovation.
Yes.
So it's such an interesting area in that you've gone from a AR, VR space, creator space, and then to this ops space as well. So what does measurement look like or feel like in your mind?
I mean, measurement now being on the ops side, it's black and white. It's all metrics. It's actually so refreshing because I can say like, yes, no, this is proven, this isn't. And it really tests all your skills as a partner, as a marketer, as a seller. When you're selling an idea like VR and AR, and it's one day it's up and coming and interesting, to me, AR and VR especially many years ago, used to be the AI of now. So every panel was about it and everyone was like, are we in, are we not? And there was all this momentum, and you're still selling mostly an idea that hasn't been widely adopted. So I think there's so many facets of it. So for me now, being at MediaMint, it is very measurable, very clear, and it's a great industry to be in now. But I still think there's so much room, obviously with Mailroom, I'm proving it now. So I'm trying all different areas to measure, and I'm seeing where we really belong and where we resonate. And that's the best place, for partnership to find out which platforms are best. And like I said earlier, testing and trying, and then being able to pull those metrics and be okay if your audience isn't in that place. And I tend to double down in the places where they are, and I'm still lightly testing. But across the board, I've really come from negative measurement, like meaning none, to now I'm testing and trying, and then with
everything
ops,
being
it's
measured.
very black and white.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, all the left brain, right brain, and then I guess somewhere in between.
That's incredible. Well, it's great because you're able to leverage your experience across all of those. So, final question. We are here at Possible. What are your thoughts? What have you taken away? What's inspired you so far?
I mean, LL Cool J, number one. Right? Yes.
Such a great speaker.
Such a great speaker, so motivating. So that's been great. But just the momentum and the energy here is amazing. I haven't even met that many people yet because we're just getting started, but it just has such a great vibe and a great sense of collaboration. I used to go to Demexco a bit, so I'm familiar with that conference and the tie here. So I'm just excited to spend the next few days and meet some great people and hear more speakers. But I'm already inspired, and it's only day 2.
Thank you, Mindie. That was fantastic. That was such an interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.